The following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Hello, and welcome to the Healthcare Facilities Network. I am your host, Peter Martin of Goss & Martin Associates, and always I thank you for clicking on this episode. And I am pleased to introduce my guest today, Mr. Larry Rubin, coming to us from outside of Tampa, Florida. Larry, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining. So just a brief bit of background, not for Larry's sake, because certainly he knows it, but for, listeners, Larry's been, more than 30 years in healthcare facilities management. He's had a career at Cleveland Clinic, director of FM, senior director of FM at the Cleveland Clinic, both in Florida and in Cleveland. Larry had a stint at Moffitt Cancer Center, senior director of facilities management. Larry has been a surveyor for the Joint Commission. Larry is well known. He had a vice president role, I think, in Arizona for a bit, Larry, or Candelay Healthcare for a bit.
No,
No,
Ascension. Actually, it was in Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Vice president. Yeah.
I should always write things down. And right now, Larry is Larry's an independent consultant for his own Rubin Healthcare Compliance. Larry, what are you up to?
Well, surveying hospitals again. I really enjoy it. I like teaching. I'm a school teacher. I earned my bachelor's and master's degree a long time ago before I went into engineering to be a school teacher, and I really enjoy teaching. So when I do a survey, it's teaching. It's really you're trying to help people, and I know facilities so well. So when I get the opportunity to help people on a survey, it's to me that's the most rewarding, and I love teaching. So I make the people that are with me climb the ladders and look up the ceiling before I even do. And then I get up there and say, yep, you were 100% right. You saw this and saw that. And so it's all part of training. And I think that's what I really enjoy doing that.
Let me ask, when you ask them to climb that ladder first and look above the ceiling before you do, what's their reaction typically?
They love it. Everybody goes, I can't wait. I usually have 2 or 3, and sometimes the women are with me that are from quality. They want to go up the ladder too. I said, well, sure, go right ahead. Here's what we're looking for. And I tell them what to look for, and they do it. They're great.
Excellent. So you left Moffitt, what was it, maybe 2 years or a year ago now how's
maybe it's 2 years, almost 2 years.
God, it's amazing how quickly time flies, isn't it? How have you enjoyed the transition out of the daily grind of facilities management and compliance and everything that goes with it into your own independent consulting?
You're so busy when you're at work. If you're a facility manager, a facility director, a vice president, whatever, our jobs are so busy, and you never know what's going to happen. When you come into work, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. You could have an emergency. It could be who knows? It could be a hurricane, tornado, whatever is coming. You have to be ready. You own the physical environment, and your day is so full. Especially now, I'm noticing it a lot. A lot of people have a lot of openings right now for help, for facilities especially, and they're tough to find. We did a fantastic job of sending all our kids to college. Now we don't have any tradesmen, and that's really hurting. So plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, they're tough to find. They really are. So you're spending all your time training or teaching. So that's kind of a big deal right now for facility folks. They're very, very busy teaching and explaining to others what we do. We are the most compliant, crazy industry. I worked in the nuclear industry for a while, and I thought that was bad. No, we're just as bad. I've been on a power plant, so I know what it's like. It's crazy. Well, no, hospital's worse. We have a lot more compliance issues to worry about. And you're always constantly educating. You're always explaining to others. You've got 100 balls in the air at once, and you've got to be able to capture them before they fall down. I remember I had this director. I was at Brigham Women's Hospital. I had a director there that he was a really good juggler. He juggled knives, and he made this presentation. These knives are going up in the air, and he's making his presentation. He says, "This is what our life is like. You're constantly juggling." And I'm going, "Wow, yes, that really hit home." And I said, "That's great." I said,
and he was juggling the knives.
And he didn't get hurt. Really? But the emergency room wasn't far away, but he didn't get hurt.
That's actually about the safest environment to juggle knives.
It's kind of funny. I started my career visiting a lot of emergency rooms. Unfortunately, I joined the police department, and drove a motorcycle, and well, I have scars to prove it.
Well, and that's actually where I wanted to start, Larry. And Larry and I have been talking for a while, and the goal of this episode is Larry's going to discuss some of the most frequent findings that he finds when he's out surveying hospitals, and some success stories and some non-success stories. But Larry also has, as he's alluded to, a very interesting type of background. We've done 2 episodes on the Healthcare Facilities Network where I take resumes of folks who are in our databases, and I blank out the name of the people, but I show their career paths. How do they get into this field? Because especially now, Larry, as you just said, it's so difficult to find people. We need to think beyond kind of those traditional career paths that we always think. And how do people arrive here? And on my last episode, 2 of the paths were, one was a fire chief and the other was a police detective. So, we hear about the military folks all the time, but we have the fire chief and a police detective who both became directors of FM. Tell us a bit about yours. I mean, you were a teacher who became a police officer, who became a director of FM, and now has your own company. Tell us a bit about your path and how'd you end up here?
I don't know. It's just one of those things that's like you fall into it. But so I'm teaching school all day long.
And you're up here in Boston, correct?
In Chelsea. Yeah, I taught the school in Chelsea, 6th grade. Did that for 4 years. But at the same time, I'm teaching, I'm working nights. I started way back in the Boston Police Department. 1968. I graduated from the academy in 68. Seems like a lot of years ago. So I did 29 years up there, and then I decided to come down to Florida to take a job in a hospital down here. It was kind of interesting. My partner up north had his brother-in-law with the Tampa police. Says, you need to go see him so you learn the city. Tampa's a big city. So I go down and do a ride along.
So you're still an officer up here in Boston at the time?
No,
or
I retired.
Stepped away, so 29 years is done.
I retired in 97, came down here for that job. And it was kind of interesting. He said, we're a 900-man department and 300 are retiring next year.
Wow.
And I said, whoa, well, that's a lot. He said, we're hoping to get some of those guys back in the reserves. Why don't you, who was retired, come on and join the reserves? And I had to go back to my wife and said, what do you think of me? She wasn't happy about it. She said, no, I want you only working 1 job now. That didn't work out too well. So I wound up getting on the reserves, and I wound up being a patrol leader for 50 guys. I wound up owning all them. That kept me busy. And these were retired Tampa sergeants, and we had a blast. We worked together as teams, and I always think of the Tampa as the Wild West. It's so different than up north, and because the weather's so nice all the time, you just don't know what's going to happen. So, but again, I was the director of facilities here at one of the hospitals, and I really enjoyed that. And all of a sudden, it became 2 hospitals, became 9 hospitals, and they kept growing at the daycare, and I didn't expect that, and here I am. So I just kept growing.
So you're a police officer and a director of FM?
Way back when, yes, not now.
Not now. No, I know not now, but so you're doing both.
And there were times that I actually worked my area, worked my hospital. And I had to go into it, which was interesting. We had a bad accident in front of the hospital. I wound up going into the hospital in the ER and doing the report. And everybody knew me. Said, hey, wait a minute. What are you doing in the uniform? So, well, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
I'm not really sure, because it's a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
So 12 hours, like say 5 to 5, and then wound up working at 6 o'clock till 5. It's a long day. Did that a lot. But my body was used to it. I've worked 2 jobs all my life, so I'm so used to it. I just didn't know. Now it's getting more difficult. Now that I'm older, a lot older, it gets more difficult.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you were a teacher in Chelsea, so you were teaching and going to the academy at the same time?
Actually, I was already out of the academy. I was teaching full time and working full time. So I was a kind of interesting story. I taught the 6th grade in a very large school in Chelsea, and I'm the only classroom out of, I think it was 48 classrooms, the only classroom that had all its windows, because the kids would throw rocks through the windows. It was a very tough area. And they knew that I was a police officer, so they didn't break my windows. And every morning I had to shake my kids down. I had a box full of knives that would and 1 gun.
Really?
That's what it was like. It was a different world. So being a police officer helped me there, but I really enjoy teaching. I love the kids. The kids are anywhere from 11 to 16 in my class. So and I had 30 to 35 kids all the time. It was just a typical urban area.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did the FM world, so you're teaching, you're a police officer, now you're not, how did that arise? How did you get hooked in to facilities management?
It was one of those things where a friend of mine grabbed me to see if I would come in and take over a construction project he had going. And I said, I'm glad to work with you. And he's a good friend of mine. So he helped me. And I worked for one of the largest construction companies in Boston. And one
Who are you
day, the
working
president, boy, you had asked that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Names have left me.
Yeah, it's been a long time since you've been up here.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I mean, Suffolk is one of the big ones now, but you go back to 96, when you were here, you left in 97, they weren't.
Yeah, the owner of the company did a lot for Harvard University, and I'm just trying to think of his name, but it'll come to me.
Okay.
And
That's okay.
so
I'm sorry.
the boss, the president of the company was approached by the president of Brigham Women's Hospital and said, "Look, my director of facilities is going for heart surgery. I need somebody in there now because Joint Commission is going to be coming in December." And this was like September, and I go, and so my boss comes to me and says, "Look, I need you to go over to Brigham Women's Hospital. Don't say who you are. Don't say where you're working, but you're going to be filling in for the director of engineering."
Wow.
And I said, "Okay, I got a good engineering background. I knew what I had to do." So off I went. And by the way, I was teaching. Not only was I forgot to put all this in there, because when I left teaching school, I decided to teach engineering. So I did physics and thermodynamics. So I knew this well. I knew what I was getting myself into in engineering. So I get in there, and that's what happened was that I was they made me a temporary employee. I was the director of engineering. I really enjoyed that for a couple of years. And that's when, that was about 1990. I forget what year it was. But in 97, I got a job down in Florida, and off I went. That's how I started in the business at Brigham Women's Hospital and Partners Healthcare, which was a lot of fun.
So you decided, you know what, I'm not going to start at a small community-based hospital. I'm going to go right into some of the most prestigious academic medical centers in Boston and start there.
Yeah, but I had a great team. I mean, I had I had two assistant directors. We had a really great team and a lot of good people. So that's what made it nice. It was, so when I left there and to go to Florida, and I actually, when I got the job offer, I actually talked to one of my assistant directors. "Hey, do you want to go down there because your daughter's going to school there? Why don't you take the job?" And he said, "Nah, I don't want to go. They don't pay any money down there." So I said to the headhunter, "They don't pay down there, so he's not interested." "No, here's what we're paying." And I said, "So wait a minute, I'm interested." So that's decided it. I didn't, to leave Boston was difficult, but it just made sense. And my wife was excited because I was just going to work one job. She said, "You're going to work one job Monday through Friday, much better." That lasted a couple of months.
This is Peter Martin. If you or your organization is interested in advertising or partnering with the Healthcare Facilities Network, including sponsoring content, then please email me using the barcode in the lower right of your screen. From the trades level to the vice president level, from planning, design, construction, project management, compliance, safety, and security, the Healthcare Facilities Network reaches FM people where FM people are. How do you describe yourself?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoy teaching, and I enjoy humor because you don't know what's going to happen in life, and don't take life too serious. You got to enjoy it while you can. And I've seen so many horrible things that you can't explain to anybody what you've been involved in. And I got the scars to prove it. I mean, I've got holes all over my body. I mean, I've lost half my face. My hair's been cut off. So I've had a lot of issues, and you go through some of the stuff, and you just can't take it seriously. You got to start enjoying life because you don't know when it's going to end. So what you can do to help other people, and that's what I really enjoy. And that's why I enjoy teaching, because you're helping others. And that's what you're put on this earth for, really, to help others. And I've always felt in the facilities world, we're one team. I help every director, wherever I go. I leave him. He said, "Look, I'm on LinkedIn. Look me up. There's my email address. You got a question, let me know." And I always help people all the time. My phone is always going off. And all the surveys, we were good friends when I left. We kept in contact. In fact, we still keep in contact because they're all good people. I got a great boss. My field director was Tim Marcajon, great guy. All the surveyors were phenomenal. So, I mean, they're all good people. and they're all trying to do the right thing. So, and I always try to, again, as I do the right thing of teaching, and that's what I really enjoy now consulting, because now I'm helping. And I'm still helping with energy stuff that we do. My
Yeah.
background is energy and power plants, things like that. So I've got the craziest background. I ran a power station for 10 years. You know, I can go on forever, but my background is on LinkedIn, so you can certainly look me up and see
Yeah.
if I'm in a psychiatric hospital or not.
I didn't realize the engineering part of it, going back to school. Are you mechanically inclined? Like, you've got a lot of different, like, I'm not very good mathematics engineering. I think I'm stronger on the kind of that soft skill, the communication part of it. You seem to have both of those areas combined.
Yeah.
Most people don't get both. You get one or the other, but it seems like you got both.
It was kind of crazy. My oldest brother is an electrical engineer. So when I told him, I just, look, I'm going to Northeastern now. I want to be an electrical. He says, no, you're not going to be an electrical engineer. You're going to be the only one in the family. You go for mechanical. And my background, and I really enjoy, I'm a ham radio operator, so I really know electronics well. And I really wanted to be an electrical engineer. But so for some reason, I got more involved in mechanical. And then when I went into a power plant, I really learned the electrical side of it, because we were generating power. It was a real big station. So we had a lot of fun, and no boilers, well, no pumps, no equipment. So that's helped me a lot, especially in this field. So I really know the small boilers that are in a hospital are so much different than the 1,500-pound, 1,000-degree Fahrenheit generating boilers that we had. So it's different, but still very interesting. And I understand it, and certainly know how to take care of them, know how to PM them. And the same thing with electrical equipment, because an electrical engineer does a lot of electrical work. We generated 13,800 volts, and how we took care of all the breakers and the problems we had. So you learn a lot, and that's helped me in my field.
Yeah. Well, as you listen to you talk, everything you've done, you're using now. I mean, you're really at a kind of an accumulation of all those experiences that you've had along the way. You're using each and every one of them.
And you learn every day. Even when I was a facility person, you're seeing and surveying, you see the good, the bad, the ugly, and you see a lot of good things, and you see a lot of things that you always say to yourself, you can't make this stuff up. You can't.
Yeah.
You see stuff, you go, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But that's all part of the learning. And so if you can pass that learning off to others and help them, that's what it's all about.
So I would like to ask you, what are some of those top findings that you find that are at the top? But before you do that, Larry, you had mentioned, and we know that there's an issue bringing people into the field. As you've been, going through your career now as a consultant, are you noticing that you're interacting with more folks who don't have a healthcare background or a hospital or a healthcare background? They may be coming in from some other industry. Have you noticed kind of a demographic change?
Yeah, a big change. And I'm seeing people from the hotel industry come into, I had a hotel director of facilities working in a hospital now. And interesting, he wanted to leave open all the stairwell exit doors. And I said, you can't do that. No, not in a hospital.
Yeah.
Okay. Say learn something new. So we're seeing a lot of people from different industries coming in here. And I'm seeing a lot of women that are very bright. I mean, I know a number of them as now, but they're just phenomenal. So it's more attention to detail. Men sometimes don't always have that attention to detail that women have. That's what my wife tells me anyways.
Yeah,
so
there's some truth to that. I know my wife is more so than I am.
And I'm excited to see that happening. It's really made a big difference. So it's and I'm seeing now women electricians, HVAC techs. I remember at the Cleveland Clinic, we hired a woman for a tube system. She's fantastic. So you're getting people into the industry to really help, and it's really good now. So it's changing. It's all types of people coming in now, which is great.
Yeah. Do you mentioned the hotel person? Are there, and hotel would certainly seem, that's a huge difference just even in mindset. You were giving the door example, but are there, from your experience or from your experience, do you find that folks from one industry or another may transition easier into healthcare facilities management? Maybe it's out of the power plants, the nuclear plants, but are there certain fields where those people seem to have a better aptitude to come in and catch on a little bit quicker in healthcare?
I'm seeing the military folks that are coming in, the veterans coming in. They have been phenomenal. And I'll tell you, they have this, it's built into the veterans. They have the respect and dignity, and they really, they show that respect. You don't often see that. And that's something that kind of nice. all of a sudden I'm hearing, yes, sir, no, sir. I'm not used to that. You go, what?
Right.
I'll get that done. Yes, sir. What? So that is, and the discipline is phenomenal. And that's what we really need. And having the veterans come in has been a big change. And I've always been a fan. When I was in Tampa, we would recruit from MacDill Air Force Base some people that are retiring and leaving,
Yeah.
and they were phenomenal. The training they have is just airplane mechanics. Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
No, I
you want
agree.
to grab as many as you can.
Yeah, they've got a lot of the leadership background. They're
Yep.
disciplined.
Yep.
They've had good training. One of my, and I don't know if you can comment on this, but one of my frustrations occasionally in the recruiting world is, you'll get somebody who maybe they've gone through the nuclear power school in the Navy, but they might not have their degree yet, but yet they've got the nuclear background. They've been through their training. They've got and a hospital won't look at them because they don't have their degree. And I'm like, this is the person you want. Have you found that?
I taught I was at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant, so I
Okay.
taught the class. The guys just came out of the Navy. They were phenomenal, extremely bright, degree or no degree. Man, those are your leaders, and
Yeah.
they are extremely bright. They learn fast. They're human sponges. Those are the people you really want running your facility. They
Right.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's one of the frustrations, especially as we're trying to, you're trying to attract people in, not close them out. It's what do you have, not what don't you have. And if you've got this background, then you're a perfect.
Do you really need a degree? Do you really need that degree? I don't know. What you really need is your certifications, the CHFM. So with ASHI now being certified, and these guys can easy folks, veterans, no problem.
Yeah.
Get the CHFM, CHC. That's what you really need. And when they get that under the belt, they're good to go. They're great.
Yep.
So hopefully you can convince HR of that as well.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's not always black and white. Sometimes there's some gray in the middle, and you got to be comfortable kind of working in that gray area. You can't just say no.
That's right.
Well, you can.
Got to start looking at all that.
Right. So let's talk, Larry. Let's talk about some of your top 10 findings.
Before I do that, let me tell you about some of the good things and bad things that I've seen. So when you're a surveyor, you see a lot of things, and I have seen a lot of good things. One of the good things that I really enjoyed, I was doing a hospital in Texas, surveying them, and normally when a surveyor goes into the ORs, the doctors leave because we're going to talk about OR fires. They just, see ya, I'm gone. So I went to this hospital in Texas, and the doctors couldn't wait for me to get in there. And that was the first time that ever happened to me. That's happened since. But they were waiting for me, and they were so well prepared and really knew their stuff. The anesthesiologist, the surgeon, we saw the AON video. We know exactly here's what we did here. Here's the bowl. Here's the material. Whoa. And when we're done if this person's injured, we take them right down to we go to the next space down, which is the recovery room. And I said, gee, why don't you take them to the ER? And they said, the ER, we're on the 3rd floor. The ER is on the other side of the building. By the time they get there, it could be more damage. We're going to treat right away. And this is where we get more help. And I said, oh, well, that made sense. They were great. I really, normally I get the OR nurse stays there and sort of gives me all the answers, what I need. These are the doctors. That's the first time that ever happened. And now it's required annually to do the fire drill separate from all the quarterly drills. And a lot of hospitals are actually filming it and using it. So hopefully those YouTube videos will be out there for everybody to see, like the AON video, which was very good. So who knows? That was one good thing. The second thing that I saw was I did a hospital recently that had probably the best med gas O2 setup. And what's one of the biggest problems we're seeing on findings is that commingling. You see the empty with the partials with the full. You can't do that. So this one hospital had 6 cylinders of full, 6 cylinders of partial, and 6 empty. And they had on the front, there was a sign saying the exact pressures, and this is full. Here's the partials, the pressure ranges, and then the empties, and a great policy. And it was so good, I sent the pictures and everything to the Joint Commission to use as best practices. So it was really a great hospital. The other thing I saw that I really like, I wish I had done this. This director, and I think it was West Virginia, that every new employee that was hired in maintenance. He put on a stretcher. He would lay them down and put them on a stretcher and wheel them around the hospital.
Wow.
But before he did, they said, look, I want you to look around. You're brand new. You don't know where you're going, but I'm going to take you around the hospital. Let me know what you see. If you see anything wrong that bothers you, just let me know. So they go through the hospital, and he was telling me the story of one guy that said, they had a big bump. It was the expansion joint in the floor. He says, I can fix that. Oh, okay. And then he said, you got some stained ceiling tiles here. Oh, you got some lights out. Oh, you got the Nexus sign out. And so the director said, that's when I knew I had a really good employee.
Yeah.
And I said, he did that to everybody. I said, really? That is a great idea. Why did I think of that?
Right.
Great idea.
Yeah.
So those are some of the good things I've seen. Now on the bad side. So, we have fire stopping material that you have to be trained on how to put it on and how a UL assembly actually is put together and the whole bit. And there's training. I don't care if it's 3M, STI, or Hilti. They train you and they do great training. But I've seen some hospital, I've gone in there and somebody's taken a paintbrush and painted this red stuff everywhere. And I said, that's not what it's for.
Yeah.
But the whole wall was painted red. No, you can't do that. Then I saw I was doing a fire door right above the fire barrier, and the fire damper was there. And the fire damper has to expand inside its opening, and it has a flange around it to allow it to expand. It floats, if you will.
Yep.
Well, they must have used 3, 4, 5 tubes of caulking to caulk that fire damper in there. And I said, I don't know why you did that, but that fire damper now will never work because it can't expand. It has to float. Now you've locked it in position. It will not function. And they did them all that way. The whole hospital is done that way. I'm going, wow. Whoa, that was one of the bad things that I've seen. The other bad thing was.
Can I ask you a question, Larry?
Sure.
Before you go to that next, when you worked at some big organizations, you worked at the clinic and Moffitt Cancer Center and big footprints. How did you deal with the ongoing issue of fire penetrations and stopping? How did you control that in your hospitals?
Through a work permit process. And that is a big deal. There should be no work going on in your facility that you don't know about. So anybody doing any work, I don't care if it's IT, security, anybody that's coming in to do any wires, running, whatever, you need to come in and get a work permit. And the work permit from me is, there's 3 pieces to it. There's one always hanging on the wall, and one has to be hanging in the construction area, wherever they're working. So when they're all done, they come down to the facility and say, look, here's the work permit, it's closed. And I say, okay, now I make a work order out to one of my maintenance, whether it's a zone mechanic or one of the floaters, and say, hey, go and check it. Was it really done correctly? And my guys are all trained, and they knew what a UL assembly looks like for sealing it. And they come back and say, it's not done. And I don't pay them. I will not pay the company. I said, look, I'm holding back 20%. You better come back here and fix those penetrations. Or if they came back and the work order was closed, I signed the PO and they were done. That's how we control. That's the only way you can control. Yeah. Otherwise, you're out of control.
Yeah. So you're checking it. Well, you're having them sign in, and then you're checking it in the moment. So there's no lag between, well, he was here 4 months ago. We never checked on it. You're checking it then.
Yep.
Did you do the same?
Clinic made them put a sticker on it, so we know exactly who made that, who sealed that penetration, their name and the date and the whole bit. So it was done correctly. So we knew. We watched that carefully.
Did you do the same for like above ceiling? Did you do those permits for any contractor, no matter what they were doing coming into your buildings?
Yep. You have to. There's no around it.
Yeah, and
you got some snuck in. Believe me, there was some.
Well, that's right.
That security didn't want you to know anything, especially if they were setting a camera up somewhere. They were very quiet about it, and they would at night they would run the cables.
Really,
and that would get us in trouble.
Yeah. Was IT similar?
Oh, IT was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Everywhere. I don't care if it's Cat 5, Cat 6, blue wires everywhere. We'll talk more about. Those are my top findings. You got to be kidding me. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to jump ahead to the findings. So no, I just wanted, like I said, I want to ask that because you work big organizations. How did you control that? So that's a bad thing. What other types of bad things do you encounter?
Well, it's kind of funny. Wedges. I have never seen so many wedges holding doors open in my life. And we go around, and there's a quick story that I did one hospital, and we picked up, I'm always with the chief engineer or the director of facilities, and he picked up all the wedges, whether they're plastic or wood, and he puts them in a little pouch, and we walk with this pouch. There was about maybe 9 or 10 wedges in there, and we walked through this corridor, and we went to lunch afterwards. So we're gone maybe an hour to an hour and a half. Now we took all these. Even the safety office had a wedge. So we went back. We had to walk the same way to get back to our office we were in, and the same doors were held open with wooden wedges. And I'm going. So I walked into the safety office. I said, "How did you get that so fast?" He said, "Well, we put a work order in to then the carpenter shop, knowing that Joint Commission was here. They made these things quick for us." And what? No, you're not supposed to have these doors wedged open. Oh, I didn't know that. So
Wow.
that's what happens wherever we go. Well, it got hot in here. We need fresh air. Oh no, those are so.
Well,
See
what's
that?
interesting about that story is, the gentleman says to you, we knew Joint Commission was here, so we put the work just like reversed.
And everybody knows that the minute the Joint Commission shows up at the hospital, they announce it over the PA, "Welcome to the Joint Commission." And that's a sign to everybody. Start moving stuff out of the way, clear up the corridors, do all the right things. Send your construction people home, whatever it takes. So I had one floor that I saw, boy, we had a lot of clutter here. I said, I tell you what, let's go up to the next floor. And you're saying some of that stuff has to be there for 30 minutes. Okay, I'll come back in 30 minutes. I waited an hour, went back to the same floor. Nothing was moved. So we wrote it. I mean, you're trying to be a nice guy, but really, come on, that's clutter.
With your background as a teacher, so you're reading your kids and their body language, and then as a police officer, and certainly you're encountering everything in the world, and you're reading people and their body languages and their nonverbals, and you're director of FM and as a surveyor. When you walk into a hospital in your surveying mode or now in your consulting mode, can you quickly pick up based on kind of nonverbals and how people interact with you? Are you formulating something in your mind really quickly? And how often does that hold that you're actually accurate? You find that what you thought is what you experience?
100% of the time. It's amazing. The minute I walk into a hospital, as I'm walking towards it, I see cigarette butts, or if I go through the front door and I feel that I'm being sucked into the building, I know this is going to be a bad survey. Mm. And usually when you meet the people, and especially the team that you're sitting down with, that's the hospital COO or the CEO or whatever, you can tell if it's going to be a good survey or a bad survey.
Yeah.
And I try to find out how nervous everybody is. If the director of facility is very nervous, I'm going, okay, calm down. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But, that can be pretty interesting.
Is there a major tell in your mind? Like, for example, when we used to travel a lot on the recruiting assignments prior to COVID, and when you could travel everywhere, going into a hospital, I could usually tell just even interactions with hospital employees. Like some hospitals, they'll always say, the employees will always greet the stranger, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you?" Others don't. They're just walking blinders on. And you experience that quickly as you just walk in those main doors. For you, is there a tell, a specific? You talked about if they're avoiding you, but is there another one that you pick up on right away?
I say I've been doing a couple of VA hospitals recently, and the VA hospitals, the people are very friendly, and they're kind of like, whoa, I'm not used to that. But and it's always a yes sir, no sir, good morning. I'm walking with people who don't work there. These are people that are, getting treatment there. They say good morning. I see these guys in wheelchairs and whatever, and I'm going, this doesn't happen in the whole hospital. The VA they're friendly places, and you don't hear a lot of good things about them. But as I go to them, the people are nice. The patients are really respectful and nice. I think that's the military background.
Yeah.
Everybody's that way, and even most of the people that work there are veterans. So they're just, for me, it's been a really refreshing change.
It is amazing the small impact that friendliness can have.
Yes.
It's one of those things that doesn't cost anything, but it's very impactful.
And when you get that, you want to help more.
Yeah.
If you stop a speeding person who in his vehicle and you pull them over in the whole bit, it all depends on how they treat you. And you look at it right away. If you really get some bad stuff, you go, let me see if I can find more things wrong. And that's what happens. So when you get a place that's really nice to you, you sort of want to help them. How can I help you? And how can I make it better for you?
Yep.
And how can I teach you different things? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mirror what you get.
Yep, exactly right.
You reflect that back. This concludes episode 1. Please return to the Healthcare Facilities Network in the near future to view episode 2.